live on your stream just makes it absolutely fold in on itself. We still got about 2 hours of stream-ish left, so I'm totally good to continue as soon as we get that working.
There we go. Alright.
Sounds like we're good.
So where are we bedding down for the night? Now that we asked these orcs about passage to the other island, and it seems as though we're to steal a boat.
Well, not necessarily.
You did say that one of the dwarves might have been able to point us in the direction.
Of stealing boats.
We would have to steal a boat if we were to steal one from the Empire. However, there is a chance that the dwarves may have their own way across the water.
The dwarves. But
I am a little hesitant with the dwarves.
yeah, aren't dwarves more like the humans?
I do not know. All I know is that there might be an outcast from their society at the Western Fishing Village who might be able to tell us more.
And
It is up to you if we wish to make camp here for the night, request lodging, food, or if you are all rested well enough to continue on our journey.
when was the last time we rested? Was it just before this, or
Yeah, as
how long
you did,
ago?
so you guys did rest the night previous, and you guys are. It's like at this point, sort of mid-afternoon.
Oh, okay. Well, it's dependent on what you fellows feel like.
Well, don't we have to reach another village anyways? Can we just not rest at the next village instead?
Well, I think we at least should get some supplies and some meat for rail.
Yes.
That is true.
Yeah, these
Meat will be necessary to feed you, those of you who consume it.
Well, I assume you do too. But specifically, we kind of only have so many traveling supplies, and fresh meat is not really a good traveling supply, you know?
I do not eat meat. I eat plant life, fruit, as well as smaller insects.
as long as it's made of meat, I can eat it. Like if I got meat-based rations, then I'm fine.
Well, that's
They're
right.
made of meat.
They're made of meat. And
All the way through.
I also have some for at least the next 4 days.
Okay, well, still, we should probably pick some up.
I would much prefer fresh meat, yes, but I think I'm able to get by with what I have for the next 4 days.
Worst case scenario, I still have 5 rations of dried meat left.
Keeper goes to look for like a guard or something that he can ask.
Yeah, if you guys are just standing in like the small area that's outside of the main hut. The two guards that are flanking the door are still there.
Excellent. How many days journey from here to the Western Fishing Village?
About a day and a bit more.
Many thanks.
He kind of does like a with his hand. He's like day and a half, give or take. Depends on your speed.
Okay. Keeper gives a deep, respectful bow and thanks.
He gives
In
you a
turn,
hearty
but-
nod.
Since the big scary guy didn't eat Keeper, Floop will actually ask the guard, do you have some place where you try to have some cultivation?
The guard sort of looking down, almost like past his own body at you because you're so short. He like sort of drops down to one knee to get a bit on your level when he speaks with you. But he puts one of his hands on the ground and picks up some of the the dirt and dust and clay that's there and sort of rubs it between his fingers. And he says, "Nothing that we've planted here grows. Any of the food that we have hunted from the woods to the south. Much more now since the corruption has recently been lifted."
Hmm.
So it might actually benefit from your magic, Floop.
I mean, I can try. I still have a few seeds I can try to plant.
Perhaps inquire if there is a specific location these fine folks would like to have their vegetation.
Well, I mean, I can try to enrich the land so they can at least have enough to plant medicinal herbs.
Hmm. You do find close by there is a bit of sort of the dirt that's inside of the palisade that they have surrounding their modest collection of different like sort of huts and areas. That there is one spot that is presently not being used.
Oh, well, I'm gonna claim that spot.
Maybe inquire with the chieftain or a person of authority before going around casting magic among their civilization.
I start moving back towards the main tent.
Fluke is just too hyped about like new plant stuff that she's just already making just a tiny territory with sticks and a rope, like a tiny garden.
Okay.
Keeper like raises a hand to go and say something or try and stop her. Like,
One of
Put his hand back inside.
the guard that was speaking to you guys is sort of watching this happen, and he's got his eyebrows raised as he's interested to see where this is going.
I go back to because I had already gone going back to the main tent to talk to the chief.
You go
again.
inside?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. As you re-enter, he's still just sort of sitting there and poring over his own thoughts, and as you re-enter, he looks up to you.
Our druid is taking advantage of the recent lifting of the corruption in the area and is starting to enrich the soil outside of one of your established structures to try and enrich the land with greenery again.
He smiles and goes, "Ah, okay." And he grabs his little gnarled staff and he slowly gets to his feet and he goes, "This should be good." He comes up to the mouth of the hut and he sort of like walks with you back out into the area, and then sort of putting the staff down in between his feet, he sort of like leans on it and with both of his hands and watches as this unfolds.
I cross my arms and kind of just stand with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh,
He's
let's
just
watch
like,
this.
okay, let's see what happens. All right. So, what's Floop getting up to?
Floop is not noticing anybody like trying to judge her. She's just super happy to have a garden.
She's just happy to be there.
Just
And-
happy to be around.
And she's also taking a few rocks left and right, and she's
Okay.
making a tiny mini cave. So in the soil, she'll be planting seeds and plants, and in the mini cave, she's gonna just make the new moss that she has try to flourish a bit, so they would also have a tiny bit of moss.
Oh. So you've if I understand this correctly, you've put down pegs and twine to sort of square off a piece of flat land
Yeah.
that you're doing, and you've dug a little rut into one of the areas, and you've put some moss around it.
Yeah, in a tiny makeshift cave, because moss grows in caves. It doesn't like grow in the sun. So she makes sure that it's a tiny cave per se.
Okay, so you've dug down a little bit and then to the side a little bit to sort of like make a little offset pit that you've put the moss into.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna use my collapsible bucket.
Okay.
And hold on a minute.
So you're gonna make some water.
Yeah, so I'm gonna like carefully spread some water on the land to soften up the soil,
Okay.
and a bit in the cave so I can put the moss in.
Okay. Yeah. As you spread some of this water out, you've created some water that you then begin to spread within the little plot of land that you've squared off, and you've put some into the little area where the moss is. The moss is nice and moist, and the land is the dirt that's there is a little moisture now with the water that you've put.
Yeah, so she's gonna plant her tiny seeds that she had in her pack because she was prepared. Yes, I was prepared. Don't you Illidan on me.
I came prepared.
So she starts planting the seeds, and she's gonna sit in front of the land, and she's gonna concentrate.
Mm-hmm. Plant growth. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So let's have a look here. The spell channels vitality into plants within a specific area. There are two possible uses for this, granting either immediate or long-term benefits. If you cast this spell using an action, you can choose a point within range. All normal plants in a 100-foot radius centered around that area become thick and overgrown. A creature moving through the area has got to spend 4 feet for every 1 foot of movement, which is rough. That's 1/4 movement. You can exclude one or more areas within the size within the thing. If you cast a spell over 8 hours, you enrich the land. All plants and within a half-mile radius centered on a point within range become enriched for a year. The plants yield twice the normal amount of food when harvested.
So you need to do this for 8 hours?
Yeah, she just in her meditation. We might need to sleep here.
Zax kind of
Oh.
smiles but rolls his eyes and trumps over to his spider mech.
That seems to settle it.
One of the guards, as you guys are standing there, one of the guards looks a little apprehensive and turns to his chief to say something. The chieftain puts up his hand to sort of silence the guard and says, "Let her learn. Let her try." And he sort of nods to your party and says, "If you would like to stay here within our village for tonight, you may." He walks back into his hut.
I give him a nod on his way.
I give him a deep respectful bow and thanks.
Since she knows she's gonna be sitting there a while, she's just gonna plop herself into her bucket with the rest of water.
So you get into your little bucket, you moisten up, and you continue to channel this magic. And this will lead up to, I'm gonna say, like, these 8 hours leading up. It's gonna lead up to like just the edge of night. So by the time you finish channeling this, you can then rest for your 8 hours, and it will be morning of the next day.
Yeah, and I don't want to like flourish the whole area, just my tiny piece of garden, and really concentrate on this spot alone, just to make sure it works.
I coil
It would
up
be a
and sit,
personal victory.
I coil up and sit nearby so that she is uninterrupted for the 8 hours. I'm just gonna be menacing. All coiled
Seeing
up.
that- Seeing that Vrail has gone over and is keeping Floop company, Keeper will look out for an open area where he can practice his martial arts like kata.
Awesome. Yeah, as you guys kind of spread out and find your own places to kind of hang out, you do see that many of the orcs, when resting, they mostly just kind of hang around outdoors, if not like leaning against the inside of the palisade. And a lot of the structures that are there aren't intended mostly for sleeping or for being a personal home. There are sort of like lean-tos that some people have set up where it's like, 2 pegs and an animal skin kind of acting as a tarp, where they have perhaps a small collection of like meager personal items, and maybe that's where they might rest. But the structures that do exist within the camp are largely either the chieftain's personal quarters or other areas where they do work.
Is there a sparring area or a circle or some sort of training area where like they would run drills?
Not necessarily a place that has active drills being run, but you do see that there is an area where a few like wooden posts have been hammered into the ground, that have been notched and marked up a great deal, and there is a single set of wooden weaponry sort of set off to one side. Presently, it's not being used.
Okay, I walk over to there. If there's anybody who's around, I kind of ask them if I could use this. And if not, I'm just gonna start just kind of, lightly punching the posts. Get some martial arts practice in. While at the same time trying to show off my technique to any orcs who might be curious and watching.
Yeah, so as you kind of start practicing your techniques and stuff like that on the post itself, of the orcs that are in the village, I think only one of them takes notice of what it is that you're doing, and cautiously watches you from I'm gonna say someone like 50 feet from where you are, and it is a little child.
Aw.
That's fair. So yeah, I'm gonna do that while Floop's casting her spell.
Nice.
Jax is gonna take
yeah.
a look around and see if there's anyone practicing magic or anything other than Floop.
Looking around the town, it appears as though roll me perception. We have those.
Yeah.
19. Getting a pretty good scan of the village. You don't see anybody that's practicing magic per se, but the smoke that's coming out of the chieftain's hut, you see occasionally stops and then continues.
So I'm gonna go back up to the chieftain's tent, though I'm not gonna go inside because there are guards posted in front. I'm going to go up to one of the guards and grab their attention.
Yeah, he looks down at you and goes,
Hey, sorry to bother you. I was wondering if there's any place in your village for magic users or people of an arcane kind of persuasion.
What do you mean like that? And he points over to Floop.
Kind of, yes. But not specifically like that.
Chief does magic.
Oh, may I go back in and speak with him?
And he gives you a nod and a grunt, and he pulls aside the animal skin that acts as a door.
Thank you very much. And then he'll walk inside.
Yeah, the guard follows you in, and posts himself at the inside of the door. And he goes, Chief, this one is curious about magic. The chieftain, sitting in front of the, sort of like kneeling in front of the fire that's in the center of the room. He's got his staff lying on the ground next to where he is, and he's got his hands up as he's doing something with the fire. As you come back in, and this is announced, he goes, very well. Come, little green one. Sit. And he sort of pats the ground next to the fire where he is.
Zax nods with a smile and walks over and takes a seat cross-legged.
You see that sort of gnarled, knobbly hands of the Orcish chieftain have a lot of markings that have either been painted or tattooed on them, both on the palm and on his knuckles and fingers on the back. And as he makes motions with his hands, you can see that some of the fire sort of turns and twists in front of him. Some of the coals will brighten and then go out. And he seems very focused on what he's doing. But as he's doing this, without turning to you, he speaks. So, what do you wish to know?
Oh, I'm a student of magic. I make things that do things kind of similar to this sometimes, and he gestures to how he's controlling the fire. And one of the things I wanted to do out in the wider world was learn more about the stuff out here. So I wanted to see if you had knowledge or something that you'd want to pass on to a student. And I completely understand if the answer is no as well. So
He chuckles a little bit as he continues to move his hands around and sort of orchestrate the fire that's in front of him in some fashion. And he says, "There are many ways to access magic in the world, same as there are many ways to fly or to swim. We pass on the knowledge of the elements from chieftain to chieftain, as is our way. Too many who know magic leave it open for abuse. So we keep our mystical knowledge focused on a chosen few. The way that you reach magic can be a little different from I. For example," and he waves his hand again over the fire, and you see the coals almost flash in a wave across their surface, following his hand's motion. "The flames can tell me the future at times."
no, that's fair. I understand that a fair amount. I've studied some stuff like that, but never to this extent. But and I do understand wanting to keep it close to the chest, as it were. There's a few things that I'm able to do with this that I'd rather not get out in the same manner. So believe me, I completely understand you.
Indeed. In some cases, as he waves his hand again over the surface of the fire, the future is like the wind, easy to see which direction it's blowing when it's blowing, hard to see which direction it will turn.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I kind of thought coming out to the world. But having spoken to you and now thinking that we're at least going to be spending the night, I don't want to be a burden on your people. So I was wondering if there was any way I could make myself at least useful while we're here.
Well, it depends, little green one. What can you do for a village such as ours?
Well, I've got a mount outside that can haul cargo if you say you needed something moved or something like that. And like I mentioned, I have access to magic as well. But even so, even without accessing magic, like a nice strong back or at least the will to even just help can be a good boon sometimes.
Indeed. Go about town if it suits you. See who it is who would accept your help. Or if you wish to keep an old man company, you are welcome to sit here with me.
Well, maybe I'll do a little bit of both.
And he gives you a weak and warm smile and a nod, and then goes back to sort of twisting and turning the fire in front of him with his hands.
Zax just kind of watches quietly, but kind of mimics the hand motion a little bit, but like not putting very much effort into it.
Yeah, just kind of like looking at it. Roll me an Arcana check. Fuck.
Well.
Well, so what you can tell at the very least from what you're looking at and from what you know of spells, he is casting a form of divination, but it appears to be specifically focused on druidic styles.
Interesting.
That his connection to magic appears to be through the elements themselves.
Which is very different than how I go about it. But
Your whiz
Yes.
biz.
still interesting nonetheless. So.
Whizness.
That wizard business, that whizness, if you will.
If you will.
Whiz biz.
So after about an hour of waiting around for this spell,
Mhm.
Vrail's getting a little antsy.
Yeah.
She's looking around around the little village here, the little hamlet, and is there anybody metalworking?
Roll me perception.
Are you sure? Can I passively perceive it?
It is a pretty
All
good
right,
Roll me some fucking perception. You said you're
Okay.
looking. So it's 10. God, there was a 2 that you rolled.
Mm-hmm.
My God. Oh no, it was a 5, and then it's +3/+2. So yeah, looking around the town, you do like see some smoke coming out of a hut, and you hear what you think might be the banging of something against something else, like rocks and stones. But on the edge of the air, on the arid, sort of dry wasteland air, you smell blood.
I do taste blood with that 20 passive perception. I say down to Flute, I'll be back. And I get up and I go to investigate.
And you're in your big
Oh, yeah.
UNT abomination form, yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely gives you, like, because you're much taller than a lot of the people that are here, gives you a bit more of a purview of the area around you. You do see that there is one hut that's over off to one side, that is open on the side. There's a fire made in what appears to be sort of like a makeshift forge, mostly built from clay and mud, that is working. And there's a fellow sort of like sitting down in that space, but appears to be heating some rocks and then using another particularly shaped stone to sort of bang the rocks into the shapes of either arrowheads or spear tips, and then affixing those to associated arrows. You do also, as you are sort of looking around, see that there is an area that it's not necessarily a hut. It's like a hut without the top. Like, it's all walls around the sides to stop dust from blowing in.
Yeah.
And you can see that there is an orc there that has a deer that is dead on its side, and he's currently in the process of skinning it.
Okay. Well, then I go to the forge area.
As you approach, the orc that's sitting there banging the rocks together looks up at you and goes, "Oh, hello."
I thought to ask if you would be able to make some modifications to already crafted weaponry. If you're of the mind to.
I can certainly have a look.
I take out my scimitar and I like show it to him on like the palms of my hands. I want to put 3 rings through the back of this blade.
There's like a solid moment where he's sitting there staring at your scimitar. His mouth is open a little bit as he's looking at it, and you get the impression he's probably not seen a lot of things of this craftsmanship in his life. Many of the orcs that are around don't have any armor on, and a lot of the weaponry that they carry is usually like stones and whatnot. Any swords or axes that you do see that they have, like you gather, might be the collection of the metal that exists in their tribe. But
So
as
they
he
must be
he
looking
looks
at my
at it,
armor
he-
like fucking.
yeah, people are definitely fucking wowed by both the fact that you're wearing like immaculate golden looking armor, as well as the fact that you're a 12-foot tall snake lady. So
And that's
you know,
just
it's all-
from my standing position.
yeah, this is all weird.
There's
So
more tail than that.
yeah. He takes the, like, gently he puts his hands out to take the blade from you.
I let him.
He cradles the scimitar in his hands, sort of like teetering it one side to another, and examining all of the finer details of it before sort of like touching the back of the blade with the tip of his finger and says, "You want me to put 3 holes here on the back of the blade so that you can put rings in it?"
Yes, closer to the tip of the blade, like, but evenly spaced so that when I swing it, the rings will loosely move forward and hit the blade and make a lot of noise and also add a bit of weight to the swing.
He goes, "Okay," and he like puts the blade gently down on a stone anvil that he has off to one side.
If you
kind of-
believe that it is past your capability, that is okay. I will kindly take my sword back.
And he goes, "Well, let's find out." And he takes like a large stone-headed mallet
Do
and
not
like,
wish you to destroy my weapon in the process.
"Well, no, either I'm going to be able to put a hole in it, or it's going to break my tools, whichever happens first. And
I give
really,
him-
we'll know if we if we give it a tap. Don't worry, I'm not going to damage your blade."
I give him one of those like sideways head nods, like just all right,
Like,
go ahead.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. So he takes like a stone-headed mallet, and from one of the sort of like small wrought wooden shelves he has there, he takes like a pin, a very thick like peg made of metal, and sort of places it against the blade gently, and then gently, tink tink tink, taps the top of it with his stone mallet, and the tip of his metal spike breaks. And he goes, "Ooh, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that." He gently picks your sword up and gives it back to you. Despite what he did, your sword is entirely unscathed from what happened.
I give him a nod and I take my sword back and sheath it again. Do you know
Yeah,
of
there you go.
anyone who would be able to in this area?
Around here, no.
Okay.
But, you know, keep looking. I'm sure whoever it is that made your armor, I'm sure there's folks that are fine craftsmen, artisans who can make similar things like this.
I'm sure that whoever made my armor is well and dead, because this is armor that was passed down to me and my family.
And he goes, "Yeah, I'd believe that. Yeah, it's very rare stuff you've got there. But I'm sure there are artisans out there who'd be able to help you modify this. Just not here."
I give him a nod.
He
And I,
gives you a nod back and
I-
goes back to making arrowheads.
yeah, I take my way. And then I go over to the guy with the meat.
Yeah. Peeking over the top of the sides, you see that as that guy is sort of like, getting the hide off of the deer, he's like stretching it out over a tanning rack, and has the deer itself like sort of sitting on a series of other skins and whatnot to act as a tarp so that it doesn't get all dirty. And as he begins to like sort of take off sections of meat, he sees you approach and goes like, "Oh,
I get
hello."
that a lot.
Yeah. I bet. Welcome to our village, he says, up to his arms in gore.
I give him a nod again. I cross my arms. Where did you find animals like this out in this wasteland?
Oh, this gets brought back to us from our hunters from the woods to the south.
Woods to the south. Got it.
About half a day travel. They
I
hunt within the edge of the woods. A lot easier now that the woods aren't sick anymore.
I'm looking over
that
my
they-
map. While he talks.
Yeah. You can see that like south of where you are, about like half a day to a day's travel, is the edge of that large forest that barriers the monstrous wastes to the rest of the Empire of Light proper. And he says they usually come back with something like this, and then we cut this up, we salt and ration it, and that'll last us a little while. Skins get used to make clothes and roofing.
Basic
and
hunter shit. Yes, I
stuff.
understand.
Yeah. And so like he's just like, yeah.
I was asking for my own travels because I can't eat vegetation.
Oh yeah? Yeah, meat lover, huh?
Yes.
Then he kind of gives you a grin. He's like, "Good, me too." And he keeps cutting. He sort of like with the blade that he's using, you can see it's a very small and extremely sharp blade with a wrapped handle, and he very dexterously sort of cuts a little piece off of one of the rear flanks, about like a small handheld piece, and he offers it to you.
I reach down and I pick it up with like between my finger and thumb, and like my tongue flicks out at it, smelling it.
It smells good. That's a fresh kill.
I eat it.
Gives
doesn't
you a happy
seem
nod
like
and
I
a
chew,
smile.
as I don't.
Oh yeah, being a snake and whatnot. Yeah, he gives you like a little smile and a nod, and then keeps going.
And I go about my way.
Yeah.
I make my way back to Floop.
Floop's still there, doing the ritual. Is there anything else anyone would like to do during the time while Floop is casting their magical time?
Yes. After spending 2-3 hours.
Your mic's not on.
Sorry. After spending about
There you go.
2-3 hours sitting and conversing with the chieftain, just spending some time with him, Zax will thank him for allowing him to be there to experience this, and say that he's going to go off to see if he can't help out around the village.
Nice. He gives you a nod and thanks you for your company.
So Zax walks out, giving a nod to the guard on the inside, walking back to the thing, and is going to look around to see where he might be able to help. That smith might actually be a good place to start, but I don't know if I know that yet.
Yeah, roll me perception. With a 14, yeah, like looking around the town, you can see that there are a lot of people just sort of like more or less going about their business. In terms of a place that you could offer your personal services, with regards to like helping out villagers and whatnot, there's like a tower to one side where you can see some of the guards pacing around and keeping an eye. You do notice the smithy that's off to one side where the guy is sort of crafting arrows and spear tips, and the person who's sort of working on the meats. You see that there is another hut where an orc is mixing some rudimentary herbs that are long since dried into different powders and salves.
Saves.
Salve!
Looking at all these different options, the tower probably isn't a good place to go, considering it looks like they're guarding it. So Zax is going to make his way over to the smithy.
Yeah, you still you find the same person that Vrail came across, just the younger orc who's working in there, making arrowheads and spear tips.
Hey, sorry to bother you. You probably noticed we're staying at least for a little while. I wanted to see if you needed a hand with anything.
He looks about and he goes, how good he sort of like hands you a piece of flint, and then like another rock, and he goes like, show me what you got.
All right.
Immediately starts a fire.
Yeah. Ah,
How big,
everything is so dry out here.
how big is this rock? Like, could I probably make like a dagger or something like this, or does this look more like something that you would make an arrowhead out of?
Roll me. I'm gonna say, yeah, roll me perception as you kind of turn it over in your hands and have a look. That or like a survival. Perception 20. There you go. The rock is big enough that you could potentially make a dagger out of it, or depending on how you break it and sharpen it, you could make maybe 3 or 4 arrowheads.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll turn to him. I'll set the rock down. I'll say, "Give me a little while. I'm gonna get some tools for this."
And he just goes, okay, and he continues working.
Yeah. So Zax plops down pretty much right where he is. Rummages through his backpack and gets out his wood carver's tools, and then goes about changing them magically to a set of stoneworking tools.
Okay. And yeah, that's the right tool for the job. Yeah, so you can sort of break down your previous tools and reassemble them into a set of stoneworkers tools.
So I'll do that, and then I will see if I can craft a nice sturdy spearhead with this rock.
Yeah, give me a survival check
All right.
and add your proficiency if you don't already have it.
I don't already have it, but I will still add it. Because
13.
Because I'm not proficient with stoneworker tools.
Yeah. As you are sort of making your way and doing the classic tink, you do manage to produce 2 out of a possible 4 arrowheads.
But not a spearhead like I was trying to do.
Oh, if you were going for a spearhead, sorry, I misheard you. Yeah, if you're trying to go for a spearhead, yeah, with a 13, you do manage. Like, it takes you a little bit to kind of get used to the way the flint breaks and where you like the angle you need to strike it and the amount of force you need to use and like which tools you use where. It takes you a little bit to get to it, but then like, yeah, no, you managed to make like a solid spearhead out of that.
I will present the spearhead.
Yeah, as you present it to him, he kind of froze his brow as he examines it and goes, "Not bad. This is pretty good."
It's all in the tools.
He's just like, "Yep."
Hello.
And he, kind of taps
Had
the
to mute myself
large
on
stone
Discord
anvil
first.
that he's got next to him, and like a series of other sort of keenly shaped rocks that he uses to specifically break the stuff up in the direction that he needs to.
So does this pass? Would you like a hand?
Sure. And he like hands you another piece of flint as you go along.
All right, then I'll continue working until I hear something happening outside with Floop and Rail.
Yeah. As the hours pass, and the day eventually turns into dusk and then to the early evening, the spell comes to fruition. As the magical force slowly and unfortunately begins to twist into its conclusion.
Oh, I'm backing up.
Yeah, the chieftain comes out of his tent and makes his way over to where you are. As the spell, like you're continuing to focus, Floop, in the way that you do on your magic, and as you're sort of like pouring your energy and your concentration in revivifying the land and in bringing life to the seeds that you've planted there and giving it all of its chance to grow. Sort of reaching the culmination of your concentration over the 8 hours, you see that there is like this rush of energy that comes out of you and seeds itself into the land. The moss that you've planted in like the little pit begins to almost glow with like a green revivification as it sort of spreads a little bit within the little pit that you've put it into. And from the seeds that you've planted, you see a number of small sprouts growing up out of the clay ground. But then slowly, as the chieftain stands over your shoulder and watches, the sprouts begin to wilt and turn gray and dissolve. The ground where you had poured that water begins to dry almost at an unnatural pace, and the moss that you have there, while it is still good, the very edges of the moss begin to turn gray.
Oh.
The chieftain places his hand on Floop's shoulder, kind of gives her a little pat, and kneels down next to her and says, "I'm sorry." What's that?
What's his poison resistance?
Well, she's got an outfit on, doesn't she?
Yeah, I have a traveler's kit.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
got. Yeah, she's
Okay.
got-
Okay.
Yeah,
I
don't
got
worry.
worried there for a second. Like he goes, gently,
Yeah.
like chuckles himself, puts his hand on his shoulder. Ah!
Dies.
Bleh! Dies. What have you done?
Yeah, roll for initiative.
Yeah. But yeah, he sort of kneels down next to Floop as he sort of gives her a pat on the back and says, "I'm sorry, little one. The land here is unfortunately dead. Any life that we try to put into the soil is consumed by the curse of these wastes. The sickness in the trees to the south was lifted. No more nightmares wander that land. But the trees cannot grow beyond a point. The land here remains barren. It is why we live here. It is far beyond the reach of those who would consider taking a land from us that cannot grow. Some of our people take pride in existing in a place that is so infested with death."
She slightly nods.
He quietly walks over, scooping the moss that you'd placed within the pit up into his hands and sort of brushing the sides of it. The little bits of gray that had begun to sort of seep into the mist sort of turn to dust and then flake off. He then comes back over to you and holds it out. "Put this somewhere where it could grow. happier.
Okay. She just grabs it and puts it in her sad in her bag, a bit sad.
So this is moss from the surface. I don't know what I expected.
I don't know. I don't know what I expected. Yeah, and he goes, "Do not be discouraged, little one. Your quest to bring life to a place cursed with death is a righteous one. It may take you more time. Perhaps you will be able to solve this mystery that has long plagued the monstrous wastes."
Yeah, she nods. She doesn't want to speak too much because Floop is Floop and Sad Frog.
Oh no! Oh,
Sad frog noises.
sad frog noises. Oh, that's a sad. That is a sad frog. But yeah, he then gives you a nod, and using his cane to walk, he slowly begins to make his way back to his hut.
Zax will have gotten lost in his work, and will not have realized this was going on.
I can just imagine someone being like, "Zax, are you gonna go to bed?" Like, what? It's nighttime? What? Like someone who's been playing a game for too long. Oh, jeez. I should have been in bed hours ago. Fuck.
That sounds like Shaskar.
Yeah.
Alright. So where do you want to hunker down for the night?
Looking around in the town, you see a lot of the orcs that are sleeping. They just kind of pick a place either against the wall on the inside of the palisade or some other place sort of like in and around where they kind of just park themselves and either sleep leaning against something or just sleep flat on the ground. There is a rotating guard that you do see of orcs that are watching both the gates as well as some that are doing a rotating watch up in the tower. Let's do.
As once I see after my I'm finish my long training and I see the Floops finished her spell, I rejoin the group.
We can it seems like there's just it's people are just outside sleeping and stuff like that. I point to the
Maybe just find a clear spot to set up our own tents. Like we have our own tents and camping stuff.
I point towards the kind of cave Floop dug out. I don't know how big that is though.
It is not even a foot wide and
Oh, okay,
about a
never
foot
mind
deep.
It's barely enough to be considered shelter, but because it's moss and it needs.
Get in. Like, oh wait, please get in.
Everyone. Yeah, do you want to just sleep here then?
Zax could make you tiny.
I'll
No.
make you travel size.
I also have this tent, so
Just in her, she goes back into her bucket and makes her snoot poke out.
I start expertly setting up my tent.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to roll survival with disadvantage again?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, do it. Show me what you got.
12.
12. Okay, so yeah. Like, from last time, where you had some trouble, you kind of learned a little bit of a lesson from that, and more or less get the poles in a position where they appear stable, and get your sort of canvas tarping over top of it. There you go. Oh, upsetty spaghetti.
All right.
Floop was no talking me. Upsetty spaghetti. Okay.
I go into the tent, but I also drag Floop's bucket in with it. In with me.
Oh,
With Floop in it.
Yep.
yep. Just gonna pick up that bucket and put it in the tent.
Everybody thinks it's a kind gesture that she grabs him, but what they don't know is that if an enemy attacks, Vrel won't feel bad for heating the bucket with her.
That's a kindness. Keep the healer alive. Yeah, that's a kindness.
It could be construed as a kindness very technically, yes.
And that's the best kind of very. Technically, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of kindness. Technically kindness. But yeah, you guys make your way in. So the two of you are in the tent. Where do our other two intrepid adventurers rest for the evening?
Well, Zax is gonna finally come out of the smith's place and dust himself off with prestidigitation.
So fucking useful.
It is so
Fuck.
When I see Zax, when I see Zax come out, I kind of wave to him and beckon him over.
Zax will give a wave and casually walk over. What's up? Having fun?
We are setting up for the night.
Zach's walking up is like fucking Ross coming in after Aaron's died in Battle Kid Plus. Just like, how's it going? You having a good time? I saw you screaming real hard through the window.
Yeah, basically.
Just like, spell didn't work out. Walks over like, hey, how's it going? You guys having a good time? What's up?
Zax will take a look around and notice that Luke's not doing her thing, and that the tent is actually set up, and he didn't have to do it this time.
How fucking dare you? Going in my book.
The other two are already inside.
I take it whatever Fluke was doing didn't go well.
Does not appear so.
That's a shame. What are you planning
I-
on doing for the night?
I spent my time training, so I don't know exactly why the spell did not work. I am not well versed in magic. I am going to take shifts with Saisis for keeping watch over at least the tent, depending on where you choose to sleep.
Well, I'll probably end up sleeping, like giving myself a little nest in the spider mount before I turn in.
Oh, if you can do so comfortably, try to stay close to the tent.
Well, that's the beauty of the spider mount. It can move.
I do not remember. I do not require sleep.
I,
Simple meditation while Saisis takes watch, and then I will keep watch while they rest.
I'm not terribly worried. I mean, if anything does happen, there's going to be a hell of a lot of commotion.
We must remain vigilant. We are in dangerous and foreign lands. We do not know what sort of threats exist up here on the surface.
But that's just it. You gotta roll with it. You gotta improvise and get messy, and then later on get clean again.
I agree.
Nice.
I agree. Adaptation is important, but we must survive long enough to adapt.
That's yes, that's true. Believe me, I've seen a fair amount of explosions in my time. Zax does not look very old.
Keeper kind of looks down at his own two fists in quiet contemplation as he remembers that his past experiences where his impatience and his where he could have done better. Clenches his fists in self-righteousness.
Nice.
We must be sure to survive. We cannot afford to be overconfident, or it will be our undoing.
True, but sometimes fortune favors the bold. But I'm not going to argue the point now. It's pretty late. We should probably start packing in. At least
Agreed.
to get a nice rest.
The sooner we are all rested, the sooner we can continue on our way. We have much land left to cover and more people to see.
are you planning on taking first watch or Sices?
I don't know. Me and Sices will just I assume we
I will take the first watch.
Oh, okay. Zax will give a nod to Keeper and then call his spider mount over towards the tent and make a little kind of nest with the stuff that he has and his cloak. But before he goes to bed, he's gonna spend some time with Sices and just kind of socialize.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. As the night passes, you guys find yourselves in like a relatively peaceful evening. Like the night passes without incident. About once or twice throughout the evening, the guards will switch around the entrances to the palisade area, as well as the guards who are up on the tower. You do notice, Keeper, as you're mostly awakened or aware for the majority of the time that you guys are present. You do see that there's another guard who sort of walks around the perimeter outside the town. Sort of like doing little circles around it as he goes. Yeah. And the next morning then begins with a relative silence. The orcs wake up and start going about their usual business.
You know, Keeper reminds me of the monk from Gamer's Darkness Rising. If anybody's ever seen that movie.
Boron.
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 Phosphorescence.
Oh God! Right, we're gonna lose an hour this Sunday. Stupid daylight savings time. That being said, I'm gonna say Vrail, because you have like a passive perception of fucking 20.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say you do notice that near the chieftain's tent, there is a couple of orcs sort of like talking to each other. You can make out from little bits of speech that you catch from them that they are scouts and hunters and whatnot, that they're sort of planning where their next movements and stuff are going to be going. One of them says that you guys may be traveling west towards one of their fishing villages on the coast, and that they should send somebody ahead just to let them know that you guys are coming.
Okay. Yeah, not only with my passive perception being 20, the feat allows me to read lips as well. So yeah, so I'd be able to tell that that's what they were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd definitely be able to tell, like, one of them is just like, we need to send somebody ahead just to make sure that, like, when they arrive, they're not met with any hostility, and they're like, got it. And then that guy, like, very light on his feet by the looks of him, breaks off in a jog, heading west. And one of the others is like, okay, I'm going to go back and head into the woods and see if we can find any more game to bring back. And that's like a group of 3 of them, like, all agree that they're going to go on a hunting expedition, and they head out. And you do hear one of them mention that there appears to be some incursions of members of the Empire moving more west in the woods, so that when they go in to do hunting, to be extremely careful and not to go very far into the forest.
Why? All right. I go and I take Floop out of the tent, and I go to like take down the tent and wrap it up and stuff, put it away.
Okay. Do you want to roll another survival check with disadvantage to see how you put that away?
Oh, fuck. No, but I will because you said so.
Okay. Oh God. The means by which you managed to unfold the poles and the tarp and everything, now waking in the morning, appear to be a complete mystery to you. So
I don't know
you now find yourself in an awkward situation where you're trying to break down a thing that you just built last night, and it doesn't seem to be going back at all the way you remember.
Yeah, that's a normal thing about camping, isn't it?
Yeah, you're like, this all fit in a bag yesterday. What happened? Like, what the fuck, dude?
Slowly wakes up and looks at Vrail, and she kind of waves. Can I help?
As she's saying this, I'm in the process of, you know how you're trying to like cram, like just cram the thing in, but I'm a giant fucking snake, so I'm using like my body to squeeze it really tight. I probably broke the fucking thing.
Yeah, like you're definitely putting a little mustard on her there,
mad at
as
it.
you were trying to get it pushed into the fucking bag.
And I like toss it
and-
down. I'm like, yes, go ahead,
Yes, do this for me.
do it.
Yeah. So with an 11, you can see that the manner in which that it folds back into the bag is largely to do with the fact that you really do need to properly fold a lot of the tarp and instead of just cram it, because it is the process of folding it that allows it to take up the least amount of space as possible, and that is really the secret to this. There's a specific technique to folding this tarp.
Thought it was about the poles. What do you want from me?
Yeah, the poles are solid. I thought they took up more space than this. I thought they were the culprit. Like, no, it turns out it's the tarp. It turns out you have to like fold it up in a real weird way in order to make it do stuff.
Vrail's got a very like Sideshow Bob getting hit with a rake vibe right now.
Right, and as soon as she's done helping with the tent, she collapses her bucket, and she starts on a new quest.
New quest. All right.
She starts to look around or for someone that has vials and pots.
So vials and pots. Yeah, roll me perception. Oh wow, yeah, 22. Looking around, you do see that there is like a bit of a pit dug into the corner of an area, and there's like a bit of a lean-to over top of it, and there's a guy in there sort of working with some of the stuff, attempting to make a form of pottery with it.
Floop shyly walks to him and waves.
I can just imagine the little waddle that Floop has, and it fills me with life, really.
Yeah, as you waddle over, you give him a little wave. He's just like, oh, hello. What can I do for you?
I'm feeling a bit bad. I could like make the plants grow, and I want to thank you guys in a way for your hospitality.
Oh, okay.
And
what would you like?
I mean, I can fill up a pot with the poison I make with my skin, so you can coat your arrows and spear with it.
And he kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, I could do that. We could do that, yes. And he sort of like, this guy is just caked in mud and dust. It's a mess. But he kind of like rummages around and eventually finds like a small clay pot, which has been definitely, especially with like the quality of the clay that you get from this place, has been pretty well crafted. And he hands it to you.
So she's gonna harvest her own poison.
It takes you, I'm gonna say about 20 minutes, to sort of like scrape off enough of your floop goop, to fill up one of these things.
She looks at the pot and she's happy because she helped.
Yeah, he's very happy as you hand it over, and he goes, "Well, thank you. Is there anything I can do for you? Anything I can give you in trade?"
Oh no, it's okay. I'll probably produce more during the day, and she just stretches her back.
You're just like, whoa, okay, thank you. He's gonna like tries his best to sort of stretch an animal skin over the top of it, and puts it aside like very gingerly, making very sure not to knock it over or break it or spill it or anything like that.
Or mistake it for a pot of spice or sauce.
Yeah. Exactly. He wants to make sure that it's clearly labeled, but he doesn't really have anything to label with it. So he's just like, I'm gonna put it there, and I'm just not gonna forget that it's there, and I'm gonna make sure that I remember that it's there later. And yeah, is there anything else you guys want to do in the town before you guys make your way out?
Well, Floop was about to go see the scouts,
Okay.
and informs them that she offered her poison to the guy at the pot place so they can coat their arrow or spear in it just in case they encounter something that they don't like anticipate.
Yeah, and he just kind of like looks at you and goes, "Oh, you gave him like a pot of poison.
Yeah.
Good. I'm gonna go get that now." And he like climbs down from the tower. And he motions to one of the other guys that's watching. He's just like, "I'll be back in a hot second." Like climbs down from the tower, immediately goes over, and you can hear him like exchanging words like with the guy like, "Where is it?" And the guy's like, "It's right there." And he's like, "Okay," like picks it up, and he's holding it in front of him almost like a person holding a baby who doesn't want to be touching the baby. And like walks with it gingerly over to another hut that has like a collection of like tins, or not tins, a collection of like spears and bows and arrows and things like that in it, and puts it down next to an orc who's like sitting on a rotted stump. And you again see them sort of exchange like, "This is poison," and the guy's like, "Oh shit," and like moves that over to a special place, and then he's like, "Okay, good," and like walks back up to his position in the tower.
Floop is proud of helping, so she just waddles back to the group.
Yeah.
Thanks for popping in, best friend Saffron.
Oh, she's in your chat now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Zach
Yay.
will clamber aboard his spider mount and throw his cloak over his shoulders as it sort of like changes its color a little bit, and give a warm smile and devotion to both the chieftain and the stoneworker buddy if he spots him.
Thanks for the subscription, Esteban.
Ooh.
Oh.
That's a 2-year streak.
She kindly waves at the people and turns into a wolf to avoid ash having stuck all over her.
Nice. I've just been preparing my spells for the day.
Yeah. Yeah, after you guys are done prepping up, and you climb aboard your spider mount, you guys make your way out into the wastelands, heading west.
Yes, I do. Do we see the scout before us, or did we give him definitely enough time to leave?
Roll. You know what I'm gonna say? Because finding tracks, like you don't see him
no,
when
I'm
you
just
come outside,
I'm just like
he's not
looking
there.
around. I'm not I'm not trying to track him.
You, with the 20 passive, I'm gonna just let you have in this particular case, even though you're actively looking. I'm gonna say like you catch him just like as he goes over a small hill,
Okay.
as he's jogging off into the distance.
I motion off into that direction. We must be going that way.
Yep, that seems to be the way they go, and you guys make your way out back into the wasteland proper and begin your travel to the west. As you guys are traveling west, is there anything in specific or special that you would like to do as you guys head in that direction?
Shax is gonna take a good look around, but thinking it'd be probably done. He's curious about the orb that he's carrying.
Be right back.
But is kind of cautious. Like he almost reaches into his bag to get it out, but he thinks better of it considering it'd probably be done in a more private area and not so.
Yes. As we're leaving this place, actually, yeah. I'm gonna cast this.
Let's see here. Easy trail. And it lasts for 8 hours. When you cast a spell, heavy undergrowth, parts you approach, parts as you approach, and then moves back after you passed. For the duration, your speed and that of creatures within 40 feet of you isn't reduced by difficult terrain caused by any kind of plants or vegetation. Any creature attempting to track you has disadvantage on survival checks to find you or follow your trail. That is the good thing. As I was like,
Yep.
there's no vegetation out here, but I remember you cast this before for a reason. Okay, yeah. As you sort of obfuscating your tracks as you continue to travel on, you don't see any problems, and as it comes up to the end of your first day of full travel, you guys do find that like the day passes relatively without incident. You don't see anything sort of like following you. You don't see anything on the edges of your vision or anywhere else. And then eventually, as you make camp for the evening, it as well passes without incident. And you guys, about midday on the next day, find yourself it could be called a village in a very strict sense. Like there isn't quite a palisade, much like the last group was, or the last place was that you were, but there is like, a hut and a small collection of like fish racks and things like that surrounding it. And as you approach, some of the orcs that see you, like, give you guys a nod as you make your way along. Eventually, you make your way to a shoreline. Looking out over the edge of the water, you can see where the ocean meets the monstrous wastes. And you see, due to the tide, washed up on the shores, a collection of desecrated dead fish, bits of dried dead wood, and some matted feathers that you see down there. Dead fish, sad frog. Yeah. And as you guys just sort of like when you got to the area, some of the orcs like nodded to you silently and then pointed to the shoreline. You see that on the shoreline there is sort of constructed out of driftwood and other bits of stuff that is sort of washed in. A small hut has been constructed there. Sitting a little ways away from the hut, about 50 feet or so, you see, sitting upon a rotted stump facing out towards the ocean, there's a dwarf.
Will throw up his hood.
I shapeshift.
Into your smaller, more human-sized form?
Yep.
Okay.
Nope, completely forgetting that she's in wolf form, still gonna hide behind Keeper.
Keeper makes sure his hood is up and his mask is on.
I give the wolf a little pat on the shoulders, and then I walk over to the dwarf.
I follow.
And my sword is on my hip, my shield is on my arm. Like,
hell yeah. As you approach, you get like within about maybe 10 feet or so of him, and he doesn't seem to react. He just continues sitting there quietly, watching the waves slowly lap up on the shore.
Greetings, I say in common.
He sort of like nods slowly as he continues looking out and goes, I was told someone like you would be making your way out here. He puts his feet on the ground and stands up from the stump and turns towards you. He's definitely an older dwarf. The top of his head is bald. He's got a large, bulbous, almost irregular-sized nose, little beady eyes, and underneath bushy gray eyebrows and a long gray braided beard. There are a large set of like iron rings sort of tying the bottoms of his beard together. The clothes that he wears are very simple. He has what appears to be just some basic leather top and pants on. He's not even wearing shoes.
Were you informed of our intention?
I'm told you wish to sail upon the seas.
Yes, to the island to the west.
Cursed island to the west. Bad business, that. But you're looking for a boat nonetheless, yes?
Yes.
I see. Well, and he kind of gestures around to the sort of washed up garbage on the shores of the wasteland and goes, can't really build you anything with this, but I can help how I can.
Like, having never seen a dwarf before,
Mm-hmm.
Vrail is, like, very rigid in her demeanor.
Yeah. He's definitely, as a dwarf would appear in a lot of fantasy lore, he's very stocky. That he stands somewhere around 4 feet high, maybe a little bit shorter, but almost a square in how like wide and bulky they are, with like big sausagey fingers on the ends of their stumpy arms.
And, like, Vrail is still pretty tall for, like, a humanoid creature at the moment. Like, she's still, like, almost, if not 6 feet tall.
Yeah. Roll me insight. Like an 8. Yeah, like you've never seen a dwarf before, so you're not exactly sure what his demeanor's really doing here. What his particular posture and stance would tell you about him.
We were told that you would be able to help us, though we were not told that you would have to build a ship.
Well, that's good news. Can't rightly build you anything out of this trash. And he, again, sort of like almost spits at the garbage on the shore.
Just the garbage. Yeah.
Keeper turns to Zax when he says this.
Can you build something?
I could probably, yes, but I can't build a boat. I mean, if I had enough time, maybe, but probably not with this kind of material.
And the proper wood, yes. Okay.
Keeper nods. And then,
Yeah, the dwarf, as you guys like sort of turn to address him, kind of like tilts his head and leans to one side to get a better look at Zax, and then sort of like takes a few steps, sort of cautiously towards you. You do have the mecha spider with you at this time, right?
Yeah, I'd be still on top of it. I wouldn't have dismounted it, but I would still have my my elven cloak with its hood up on.
You see him sort of furrow his brow and squint as he sort of looks at you and looks at the mount and says, "Fancy yourself a builder, do you there, Greenling?"
Zax looks a little bit hesitant, having heard of rumors of the relations between dwarves and goblins.
Yeah.
A bit. I mean, I made a bunch of stuff. I didn't make this though. He pats the spider man.
I assume our various races, aren't going to be a problem for you. She says kind
But
of
he sort of like
darkly.
raises an eyebrow at you, a bit quizzically, goes, "No, why would they?"
We have only heard tales of people that don't care for our kind.
He sort of gives out like a low, hard guffaw at that. He goes, "Dwarves are a stout and proud people, that's for sure. That said, doesn't matter who you are. if you say something bad or you do something wrong and don't pay up for it, it goes in the book.
The book.
Aye.
Ah, I understand.
We get along well enough with the rest of the Empire. They leave us to our business in the mountains, and we leave them to their, I don't know, leaf munching or whatever. Whatever elves do with humans, I don't know. He sort of like grumbles to himself.
And almost laughs.
Yeah.
And what is your...
I like this dwarf already.
Yeah.
I must say, I've never met a dwarf before.
And I've never met, what am I looking at?
I am a Yuan-ti.
And he sort of like nods and gives like a little like furrowed brow nod of approval, and he's like, "That's good.
Where...
How about you? You're some kind of bug." And he points at Keeper.
Keeper kind of shrinks a little bit, but doesn't say anything.
Well, can't say I don't like a silent type, so that's good. He kind of like peers over at Floop, and he goes, "And you're like a frog."
Oh, she's in wolf form.
Yep.
Oh, you're
That's a wolf.
in your wolf form.
That's just a wolf.
Okay,
wolf.
sorry. Yeah,
That's
so
a tiny flower on its head
Yeah, we...
that stays well for some reason.
yeah.
Yeah, we...
He'll happily smile at the wolf, and he sort of offers his hand openly. He goes, "I don't have any fish on me, at least not none worth eating, but it is good to see some wolves out here."
Does not want to change.
So, what is your name? I can't, like, I've never met a dwarf before, so...
Garrick Stonetooth.
Garrick?
And he makes a fist, and he slams it against his left
spell
side
that?
of his chest in a salute.
Can you spell that? I'm writing shit down.
Yeah, here, I'll write it out in the chat. Garrick Stonetooth.
Garrick Stonetooth. Alright. Well, if you are anything like the other dwarves that exist, then I will get along well with the dwarves, I think.
Aye. Well, I don't know about that. I was exiled from our clan because I wanted to have a ship that didn't require sails.
What?
He says, drooling.
Zax is
I wanted to design a ship that ran on steam. A great big engine, whole ship made of iron. Big paddle on the back that trudged it forward. No need for ropes or sails. Don't have to listen to the wind.
Zax seems like 100% more like
Invested.
invested in this.
How
And
would
they-
The Greybeards at the Engineering Guild wouldn't have it, and I wouldn't back down, so they asked me to leave.
Wait, this is all.
You were exiled for that?
Aye.
Curious.
Dwarves are very specific about how they live and the ways in which they choose to live. But it's all a lot of tradition, and that's all well and good until it gets in the way of progress. Usually, after a dwarf invents something new, then odd times it'll either get cast aside, or long after that dwarf dies, then the Engineering Guild might pick it up at some point or another. Blah, blah. Descends into grumbling.
Zax like leans
My-
forward on the Spider-Man and like pulls back his hood. It's like, are you telling me these people just take a look at things and disregard them?
Well, it depends. Again, tradition's a very big thing for the dwarves. So they don't necessarily like new things if those new things get in the way of old things.
Zax like
My
turns around in his chair and like throws his hands up in the air. It's like, what good is an engineering guild if they don't try and make things better? And he sort of goes on to
Zax is mad.
about himself. Like,
Zax is
to himself.
angry.
My people as well are a people of tradition. However, we have reconciled our traditional ways with the need for and approval of adaptation. It is only through adaptation and new learnings that we can hope to grow, both as a people and as individuals.
Whereas my people also are incredibly traditional in their ways, but our tradition is progress.
He kind of like chuckles before leaning back a little bit, letting out like a big laugh. You can see his namesake certainly matches up, as a few of his teeth appear to be made from like well-crafted smith's stone that have been placed in where some of his teeth, you imagine, used to be. Never thought I'd see a day when I would agree with a Groby and a bug. Well, well.
Groby?
Floop is just gonna
Aye.
walk to Zax.
Greenly.
Ah.
He points over at Zax.
Zax
Writing
is
in the
still,
note,
like,
called
quietly fuming to himself.
Zax a Groby.
Floop is just gonna like put her paws on the top of the mount and like licks the elbow of Zax, trying to calm him down.
Yeah, he is distraught.
he is distraught.
All right.
Yeah.
So, how do you suggest we get across to this island?
And he sort of like runs one of his massive hands down his beard as he thinks. Well, I can't make you a boat up here. Doggo Floop wants her friends happy. Yeah, he giving licks to Zax, giving him some lems.
Would you require access to your people's forges and smiths?
There's more than a few different kinds of boats and things that we have down on our docks. The outside of Rogakul, our kingdom, that faces to the west.
Write that
There
down,
are
please.
ships there. If you make it to the town, and you make your way into Dwarven society before you get spotted by anyone else in the Empire, I imagine you'd be fine. Oh, Rogakul. Yeah, here, let me
Please.
pull us back to the map briefly.
Is it written on the map?
It is.
Ah, Vraugakal. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Rogakul, the dwarven settlement that's to the west. You guys are at present up on the shores in the town there, and he's talking about this place.
And he said that he's originally from there?
Yes.
Okay.
The keeper kind of looks along the coast and along the mountains.
So, if we make it to Vrogakal without being seen by the Empire spies or scouts, we should be good. We should be welcomed by the people there.
And we're like here, right? Or are we like up here?
Is it safe to travel south along
You're
the coast?
a little bit right about there.
Okay. Is it safe to travel along the coast?
Not entirely. Traveling
Keeper
south,
turns
you'd
his head.
want to go in through the woods and then down the field as you made your way.
Which has fewest humans?
If you go through the woods and stay relatively close to the mountains, it should be fine. That said, we don't want to get too close to the place known as Illura.
Illura? I check my map. Are there any map Are there any marker names on the map? that
Floop
we
did
have?
make some markers, yes.
Okay. Were you able to mark that on the map?
I was able to put the names, but I wasn't able to draw the cities, so she just basically made a bunch of houses together.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just.
But it is
map
marked and
markings.
named on the map, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It is marked on the map, and it does have a name written there. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you recommend going through the forest and as opposed to along the coast?
The mountains in some places are too close to the coast. You wouldn't be able to make it on foot.
I might be able
Or at
to
the
find
very
fresher
least, I
food
don't
there,
know if
too.
all of your people would be able to.
I may be able to find fresher food through the forest as well.
That and without my tools, I don't think I'd be able to make it along the mountain's edges easily. That said, we want to make sure that we make it into Vralgakol without getting too close to the farming community of Allura. A lot of dwarves out there mixed in with the Umgi.
Understood.
The Yungi?
Humans.
Ow.
Is this a
I like how he
slur
disbotized
of a word?
everything.
Roll me insight.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah. I did ask. I asked
Another
him.
6. Oh, you asked him?
Yeah.
Like, this word you use for humans, is this a slur? And he just goes,
Is
no.
this a derogatory term?
Not necessarily. Just
Damn.
a word for men.
Damn. I don't have many, but I have particular concern and distaste for humans. Though I do not want to make too much of a problem with them yet.
Keeper
course.
Keeper quickly looks at the map, and kind of looks like he's thinking to himself.
And I really don't have much problems with farmers, so I'm not about to go and raise a farm.
Aye. The Umgi and the Wutselgi run those farms for the most part, and then we split the food between our kingdom and theirs.
Okay.
A thought occurs.
Yes?
If you were able to construct this sailless vessel,
Aye.
would it allow us to travel around the island?
And Keeper kind of turns the map to face the Garrick, and kind of motions around.
North or
Like,
south?
That's the
like-
square.
Down around
Free
that
hand,
area?
yeah. And Keeper kind of draws his hand around this, like from like where we are around.
Like around the continent.
Yes.
And he, sort of like as he's looking at the map, nods and goes, if you were to board the ship on the docks of Vralgakol, it could take you to your living mountains to the west. Though there's a lot of cliffs down on the bottom corner of the continent there on the south and east. That said, you could try to make landfall somewhere near Cabotshire here. And he points at the map.
Cabotshire. I love it.
Keeper kind of turns to and speaks to his party.
That would enable us to travel from the mountain island to the ruins, relatively undetected by the Empire in the center.
Unless they also have boats. Also, it
Do
would be
they?
his ship.
Of course, as it would be his ship, yes.
I definitely
he
wouldn't
would-
want to bring this fellow to the ruins of Oron.
We could potentially pay or negotiate terms of passage, or at least transportation.
I'm not being very quiet about what I'm saying.
No, of course. You can see
Does the
as
Empire
the-
patrol the waters?
Not as much. Certainly not round here. And he points down to the space on the sort of the southwestern corner of the continent.
Why not certainly?
keep
Why
her
certainly
notes.
not there?
Seas around there are dead. Fish don't swim those waters. And it's too close to a cursed town.
This whole continent is cursed, isn't it?
If we keep our distance, it still might be an option.
Depending who you ask, but yes, I think it's cursed. Only place that stands against a lot of the corruption and curses in this world is our proud mountain kingdom. To sail the seas again, though.
Well, let's be off to Vrogakal then. I roll up the map and I put it away.
If I try to re-enter the kingdom, they will have words and issues with me.
Then how is this
Violent
a
words?
plan?
Well, it depends. I was either told to leave the kingdom or to agree that my inventions were lesser or no longer needed. I refused to do this, so I left instead. If I return, it would... If I return, it would be to admit that they are correct and that my inventions are no good.
Then why did you suggest Vrogakal?
It is the only way that you could make a crossing, and perhaps, if we come back, I might be able to convince the Engineering Guild to let me maybe prototype my designs.
We might be able to assist with that.
As long as they have no problem with us.
If they are willing to listen to reason, there are chances that myself or one of my companions might be able to convince them.
The proud Dawi judge people by their actions, how they behave. You will be outsiders, so they'll see you as distrustful. But over time, I imagine they'll be able to, judging by your actions, how you speak to them, and how you behave amongst their culture, show you clemency with time.
I respect that. I shapeshift.
He's just like looking up at you with his eyebrows all the way up. You can finally get a good look at his beady little eyes. And he goes, well, shit.
I don't.
Your people, do they value strength and directness, or do they value politeness and humility?
They are a people that value honor and integrity above everything else.
And in a discussion from foreigners?
Honor and integrity. Be direct.
Okay.
Don't flower your words like the Watelgi.
My kind of people. Alright, let's go.
Can't stand knife-eating leaf munching. He fucking mutters around to himself before slowly bringing his head back to, reality where you guys are standing.
And then he puts on his shoes and comes along.
Yeah, and he goes, right, if we're gonna travel, I'll need to get my things. And he waddles over to the hut that he's in. And as there's about 4 or 5 minutes or so, you hear clinking and clanking from inside before he comes waddling back out, carrying what appears to be an almost impossible amount of equipment to be loaded onto a single person. He has slung over his shoulder a large hammer, and on his back appears to be like a backpack, but there's multiple what appears to be like moving parts. The backpack itself made from solid metal. And most of the strapping that actually attaches it to his body is also made from metal. So instead of like leather straps going over his shoulders, it is for the most part 2 large metal hooks actually that attach to his shoulder areas before the straps go to the rest of the set that he's wearing. And it appears like very, very solidly affixed to him. He's wearing also like a hard set of heavy plate mail as he makes his way out. And he's got on his feet, of course, a heavy set of iron boots. He then angrily turns around, swinging his hammer at the hut, annihilates it into a small pile of stuff. And the hut sort of scatters into little bits of wood that trundle along the edge of the shoreline.
How long did it take for us to get here? From
About a day and a half.
About a day and a half to get from that one village to your location here.
So we got about a half a day's journey south, and then before we would need to rest.
Okay.
Do you want some help carrying some stuff? Cause I got this. And he pats the spider belt.
He kind of looks at you from underneath a blocky helmet and goes, "We don't think I can carry my own gear."
No, it's a matter of convenience.
And he thinks on it for a moment, and he goes,
Dwarves are made of stone. It's fine.
"Yeah." He's just gonna, like,
She says matter of factly, like.
"I appreciate the gesture, and I will wave aside the notion that it was an insult, saying that I was too weak to carry my own equipment, and we will move from there." And he starts to trudge in a south, slightly easterly direction.
And I've
He goes,
been.
stops for a moment, turns around to the rest of the group, and goes, "Right, you know my name. Who are the rest of you?"
Oh, hi, I'm Zax.
Keeper reaches up, pulls back his hood, and removes his white porcelain mask to reveal his face.
I am Keeper.
I'm Envrail Olo.
He gives each of you like a hearty nod as you introduce yourselves. Cassie's character introduces herself, and he gives a nod and points at Floop and goes, "What's the dog's name?"
The dog's name is Floop.
"That's weird, but all right." He just kind of like shrugs.
The dog
and
is
then-
also a frog.
"It's a what?"
It's a frog. I start walking away.
And he goes, "It's not a frog, it's a wolf."
She actually is a frog. She's not usually a wolf.
"Oh, she's shapeshifter.
Yeah.
So is it a frog all the time, or?"
Obviously not. She's a wolf right now.
And he sort of like heavily trudges up to Floop and goes, "You don't need to hide, Beardling. Come on."
She shifts back into her frog form.
He gives you like a big dad smile. And he goes, "That's better. Look at you. Sticky." Kinda-
That's why I'm a wolf. I don't want any ash sticking on me. It's dirty.
It's
Aye.
mud anyway, so it'd get in your fur.
As a policy, when dealing with Darwy, you want to be honest and upfront. But I'll excuse it this time on account of the fact that you're a very cute frog. And he starts trudging southward.
Zax kind of gets his mouth to catch up with N. You said your name was N? I thought your name was Freya.
I've told you my name before. I wrote my name to the announcer as Vrail because that's my title.
Oh. Okay.
You know I'm the
Well, just-
leader of my people, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Who just
We
Those
should
are-
keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see him fucking marching to the south, and you see from his backpack every now and then there's like a little puff of smoke comes out the back of it.
Smoke?
Yep. There's like a tiny little chimney on one side.
That's amazing.
Does it
It's not steam?
It is in fact not steam. It's a little wafts of smoke come out of a little bitty chimney that's on the side of it. But the smoke like dissipates almost instantly. It's more just like a visual indicator, less of something else.
Okay.
Zax takes some mental notes.
All right.
All right.
We're off to the forest.
And then we're off.
And well, we're off
Yeah.
to that place.
Rogakal.
Rogakal.
Before the actual conversation like closes, Fluke just throws her hands in the air. Let's be honest, no one will care about our title from the underworld. So what matters the most is that she kicks asses and she doesn't eat me. So that's fine with me, no matter how, like, what's her name?
I haven't eaten you.
Haven't eaten you yet.
But of course, I'm making her.
Emergency sustenance.
Emergency food.
No, Floop is not emergency sustenance.
I chuckle a bit as I move.
Yeah. Every now and then, you do see the dwarf kind of grin over his shoulder at you guys as you guys are moving along, and yeah, you guys make your way. Eventually, it takes you about a day and a bit to reach the edge of the forest. And with that, traveling with your now dwarven compatriot Garrick Stonetooth, you're making your way south to the dwarven city, the kingdom of Rogakal.
Every day I've been putting up easy trail.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
That's
I'll keep
why
that
I was
in mind.
asking. That's why I was asking, and I have my spell slots marked off that I cast it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely keep reminding me that you guys are using that, especially when you get into the woods.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you reach the edge of the forest, hold on, let me see if do I have a picture for that? I do not. Eventually moving your way through the wasteland, you do find yourself to the edge of the woods. The trees in the distance you see are green and vibrant, but as the trees sort of make connection with the wasteland, you see that there is about 100 yards of dead growth. So trees that have turned this white grayish color and have died off.
Looks at the scene and it's just sad.
As you guys are standing there, the dwarf stops for a moment, hesitant to take a step forward into sort of the dead growth that exists there.
Can you fight?
He gives like a hard nod and sort of like hoists the large hammer that he has on his shoulder a little bit. I can fight.
Great.
Keeper nods in like acceptance, like good.
He hesitantly steps forward and then cautiously continues to move forward, taking the hammer off of his shoulder, now gripping it in both of his hands as he slowly begins to move forwards towards the trees. Does anybody want to do high key? Yeah. Does anybody want to do an insight?
I'll do an insight.
Yeah.
On him?
On him, yeah.
Chow, character sheet. Chow, insight. Oop. 22.
He fucking hates the woods. You can hear him as he's going muttering about elven curses and blah blah blah, and there's like a madness on the woods and nightmares, and he's absolutely fucking livid as you guys are making your way along. But you can tell that like you guys like you can definitely tell by like the body language and about him agreeing, and certainly by the fact that he's so hesitant to like his apprehension about going back into the forest, that it's a very big deal for him to be making this trek back again, and that you guys have certainly convinced him through your mission, however related or unrelated it would be, to traveling in that direction, that he's going to come with you and maybe use that as an opportunity to sort of maybe get his life back. That having the many apparently years of living up on that beach has cooled him at least a little bit, and offered him the opportunity to make another stab at presenting his technology and his findings.
Yeah, he's going home.
Yeah, but it's awful in a way. So it's like it's definitely a big hill to climb for him in doing this. But he's certainly, he's definitely gonna make that attempt. As Vrail casts the Easy Trail spell,
I give him a
for
come on,
the
let's go.
duration.
And I wave my hand over, like kind of at the trees, and as I get closer to them, they start to bend.
Yeah, they bend and press out of your way, making so that you and anybody within who's on your team that you choose within 40 feet of you, they're not reduced by any difficult terrain caused by the woods, which you can tell absolutely would have been the case, because it's like a hard line when the woods pick up, and it's a thick vegetation of where it goes in, and then there's like that 100 yards of like dead trees and then nothing beyond them.
Unfortunately, it's not creatures that I choose. It's 40 feet around me.
Oh, it's
period.
just 40 feet around you,
Yeah.
just anybody,
Isn't
any creature
difficult
within you.
terrain.
Yeah. And yeah, he cautiously takes a few steps forward into the trees, and the trees part a little bit in front of him, and he's like, oh, and he takes another step, and the tree sort of moves away from him, and the bushes kind of part, and the grass moves, and he's like, oh, this is very nice. I like this quite a bit. And he's just sort of like, still cautious, got his hammer in his hands, moving south, still looking, very suspiciously at the trees, appears to be very relieved that he's not going to have to fucking muscle his way through undergrowth due to his height and size.
And did relay about the possible human patrols further west, correct?
They would be east.
She did not.
When did I hear this?
There was when you guys were back in the previous town. You didn't mention anything about it, but
I
that the
mentioned it
scouts
to
were
the
saying
group.
that, that some of the orcs that are hunting in these woods have been reporting that the Empire has like some more incursions of some kind into the woods, pushing further west. So where they are in the forest, it's become less safe for them, and they should be more careful when hunting game.
Zax makes a point to take some rope out of his pack and just keep it on him at the ready.
Yeah.
Aye.
So yeah, I mentioned to the group that there were possible human patrols around in this area.
We should keep close to the mountains.
Aye,
Well
I
done.
agree.
And we scooch on closer to the mountains.
Garrett going on a toddler stroll to push the vegetation around, laughing. Ah, take that, nature.
Man, I feel like a lot more people should go on toddler strolls. Just aimless, wandering, having a time.
Yeah, man.
Go
Frolic.
Yeah.
Like, if you get a chance, frolic, dog. Get out there. All right, and with that, you guys do enter the forests proper. The thick vegetation and woodland that forms a barrier between the monstrous wastes and the Empire proper. And it is with there that we will end our game this week.
As soon as they enter the forest and vegetation is lush, Floop is extremely happy and goes hug a tree.
High key hugs a tree.
High key hugs a tree. Yeah.
He's happy.
Sorry about all the technical difficulties, and thank you everybody for being so patient.
Hmm.
I'm glad we
you.
continued.
Yeah.
Thank
me
you
too.
everybody so much for coming out. This has been a huge amount of fun doing this all for you guys.
Yeah.
And I've been having an absolute blast out here. Just doing this with you, and running this game has been just a tremendous amount of fun. So thank you all so much for coming along with us here on our wild adventure. Once again, today I have been your hopefully kind of benevolent DM, Dr. Tarawa. This is our Layer 4.0. We are joined by our intrepid players going down the list here. we have a Spooty Poots playing N. Vrail. Hello, our U1T Paladin.
Yes. Hello and goodbye. And nobody, people don't know what my other class is. Still. Like, these are, I've been using, like, spells and stuff from that class, but I have so many. So hard.
So many. And of course, we've got KC, the Killing Chick, coming in as Floop, our Grung Druid.
Surface moss. Wow.
Surface Moss turned out to be
Well,
a
it's happened
fucking
to me a lot.
disappointment to Vrail.
There is moss in that forest. She will pick it up.
Oh, there's
She would bring him back surface moss.
Right.
Do not forget, there is actually a ton of moss-related stuff I need to tell you for next game. Because
Nice.
now that you're in the woods proper. And of course, we've got Warden playing our Thrycreen Monk Keeper.
Punch, punch, and then punch again.
And last but certainly not least, we've got Shaskar playing our Goblin Artificer, Zax.
I'm gonna make all the things. There's so much to do.
And of course, we're wishing Cassie a speedy and wonderful recovery. Thank you all so much, everybody, for coming out. Thank you for your views, your donations, your bits and subscriptions, all of your support that you give to us here at Evil Incorporated to help keep our channel running. Tomorrow, we're going to be playing probably for the next little while, at the very least, the last stream for Valheim that we're going to have for the next little bit as we attempt to take on the Goblin King. But until then, everybody, stay safe, get vaccinated, wear a mask, wash your hands. We love you. And end of line.
Good night.
Bye.